I think Pikachu is perfect the way it is. We don't need any goofy fashions. It's what's going on inside that really counts. If you think fashion's so great, how about taking your Psyduck to that salon? Now we'll see who gets the last quack. Good luck. I'll be here listening to the podcast.
Hey, I'm Veronica Taylor.
And I'm Rena Taylor.
And this is The Trainer's Guide.
Today's episode,
Pokémon Fashion Flash.
Hey, everybody.
Hi.
We are at episode 27.
Oh my gosh. And this is a good one.
It
was so good.
Fashion forward.
Yeah. Very fashion forward. Exactly. And I feel like this comes at a good time. I'm trying to work on some personal style. We're traveling a lot, so I feel like I'm trying to get my outfits together and figuring out what to bring. So I'm kind of inspired by this episode a little bit.
There is a lot of fashion going on right away when our gang arrives on Scissor Street, where all the beauty parlors are, and there's a lot of cool outfits and hairstyles.
Yes.
And the people there.
Yeah, there are. There are a lot of different, there's a spiky outfit. Even later on in the makeover that Misty gets, even that, her outfit is so I don't know.
Fun.
It's very fun. Yeah. Agreed.
Well, it's an interesting, I think, too, I don't know, the animators must have had a really great time with that. And to be doing all these different costumes and the Pokémon are dressed up.
Yeah, I know. It's so fun. And so we get to Scissor Street and we find out that it's a fashion street for Pokémon mainly, I think. So people can go and get their Pokémon dressed up and all that kind of stuff. But it also is it's also called Breeders' Lane. So that's where a lot of the breeders go, and it's a huge hub for breeding. So Brock is really insistent that they go over there and, check it out. And he's looking for one shop in particular.
And he's incredibly nervous.
Yes. And they find it. Well, first of all, they stumble across this big flashy store that is new in town and advertising some of the latest fashions. And it's called
Salon Rockét.
Salon Rockét. And we have some familiar faces in there. We see it's Team Rocket.
And they're both wearing glasses,
yes,
which I thought was really great. Very fashion forward. And they say, we'll turn your Pokemon into Prettymon.
Right. I just love it. I feel like, we were just talking about this, but I feel like they have truly found their calling with fashion. This is the most dedicated I've seen them. And I do love, because I think we've talked about this before, but I feel like Team Rocket's plans always seem like they are they're making their plan as Ash and his group is going. They're never ahead of the curve.
Right.
Even, I feel like with the St. Anne, they kind of were, because they were with the boss in orchestrating this whole thing on the ship. But for the most part, their plans come on the tail of the story. But this, they are a well-established salon on this street. People know that they've put money out for ads, and they've been there for at least a couple days before the trainers.
The crazy thing is, it shows you what advertising can do.
Yes.
And it makes you aware that you, the consumer, could be tricked by this. You think, oh, they must have been here forever. Or it's the latest fad. I should go because, quote, everyone's doing it.
Right.
But who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
Who really knows? And they really are kind of winging it. I guess winging it and using all of their creative skills, because they've got the Scotch tape out and they're taping things onto the Pokemon and they're doing all this painting. And I don't know. It's really fun.
Right. And for people who don't seem
innovative
to have these, have been working on these skills for a long time, this seems to be something new, they're doing a pretty good job. I mean,
agreed.
And convincing people that this is what they want. I think they might have found their calling.
Yes.
But
If only.
Yeah, exactly. So we see them, and then we go, and Brock finds the shop that he's looking for. And it turns out that it's this woman, Susie. She's a breeder, and she's like the most popular breeder around. And Brock goes in, and he's so flustered, and he asks to be her pupil. He wants to study with her. And everybody is so shocked that he asks this question, which I think is also kind of funny.
And I think it's lovely that she knows herself enough that she says, I can't be your teacher. I'm too busy with what I need to be doing.
Right.
And so she turns him down.
Right
away. And they wonder, why is she so great? And he whips out a microphone and is doing these kind of on-stage, on-the-fly introductions stating all of Susie's stats.
Right, which is so funny. And I love that she's like the most popular breeder for the past 4 years. She's won this award, blah, blah, blah. And her website gets more than 10,000 hits a day.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, a website? That's so funny. I didn't know they had websites in Pokemon world.
I know, because we only know about the picture phone when Ash talks to Professor Oak, but we don't think about anything other than their handheld device that is telling them, about Pokemon, but not that it's used for anything else.
Yeah, and I mean, like, for you in 1998, was like a website? I mean, did you look things up on the computer?
No. Well, no, I personally didn't. I didn't really have a computer then.
Yeah.
So, no.
That's just so crazy that I was a shock to me that a website would be something was a thing then.
I know. People were using them, I guess.
Yeah, interesting.
Back in the old days.
Yeah, and her website was getting 10,000 hits a day. So
she's obviously very popular.
Everybody was at her site. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's what the web was for Susie. And Susie alone.
With her massage expertise and her gorgeous Vulpix, which was so beautiful. And Misty falls in love with it, tries to pick it up, and it just burns her face.
Oh my gosh. I know. Burns her face.
Terrible.
And we find out that it doesn't really like anyone.
Yes,
and
exactly.
It's like a model. That's what Brock says too. It's a big famous model. Anyway, but it does like Brock's cooking, we find out, which is very exciting.
And also, Susie's quite impressed with his recipe.
Yes.
The fact that he is making food that the Pokemon love and that make them seem so healthy.
Right. So,
which is pretty great.
And Pikachu's shiny coat.
I know. It's so cute, even though it looks the same to us. Maybe it's always shiny. But here we find out that it's about, this whole episode is really about what's outside versus what's inside. Mm-hmm. And Susie is a firm believer, and we find out that so is Ash, or so are Ash and Brock, that it's what's on the inside that matters, not what you look like or, anything that you put on to adorn yourself on the outside.
Yeah, and
whereas Team Rocket is really they're just about, no, it's all what's on the outside. We'll make you look pretty. It doesn't matter what the Pokemon is like on the inside.
Right, and she's been grappling with that because Team Rocket have come in, and because of their new salon, more of the customers and the people in the town have been turning to them and turning to kind of decorating their Pokemon and making them really flashy. And so Susie is starting to doubt her methods, and whether or not she is correct in her beliefs and all that kind of stuff.
Right. So, should she continue on her path?
Right. And so Ash and Misty kind of have this back and forth about what's more important, the outside or the inside. And I do think that Misty makes an interesting point where she says, even Pokemon like to dress up sometimes. And, sometimes when they look good, they feel good. And I don't think that is necessarily wrong or a bad thing. But it is an interesting thing because, that's Misty's thought. And Susie is the belief that if they feel good, they will kind of perform better, but also have their true self come out. So it seems... Yeah, go ahead.
It's like the self-confidence, that once you are able to maybe focus on yourself. And if that means exercising or looking nice or studying for school, that you start building up your self-esteem, and then you can perform better when you're feeling better.
Right.
Along those lines.
Yeah, I definitely think that it has to be, I think you have to strike a balance, because there's no shame or bad thing about wanting to look good, but you do also have to focus on,
Who you are.
putting good things into your body and making sure that you yourself are good. Because, that is what we all learn, is when you're feeling good and, you're great on the inside, it shows on the outside,
Exactly.
So
they decide
Misty,
to follow through with this,
yes,
with the lecture. They have her give a lecture.
And Misty goes to the salon. So they're basically going to see, Misty's going to get her Psyduck to look beautiful. And Ash and Brock are helping Susie to kind of, I think Brock says, we'll give the customers substance with style. So they decide to start this lecture series with Susie on, the first one is on massage.
The Pokemon care lectures.
Yes, Pokemon care lectures.
She's talking about massage and communication being important, because the communication and the massage as well can bring about trust and then bring out the personality of the Pokemon.
Exactly. So they're doing that, and Misty goes to get a makeover, and she goes in, and Team Rocket are really shocked to see her. And instead of giving Psyduck a makeover, they give Misty a makeover. And she gets all this stuff done, and when she looks in the mirror, she goes, "Oh, it's beautiful. You're artists. You're amazing. Let's do more." And they're like, "Okay, makeover."
And then it gets crazy. Yes.
And then they start, painting her face and whatever. And Meowth gets kind of mad and blows their cover. So then they have to basically tie her down and whatever. But it's so fun.
So that they can get their
excited.
way. It is amazing, and I don't know, they do go kind of crazy on the back end of Misty's makeover, but it's hilarious. Psyduck has sidled out the door to go and get Ash and Brock to save Misty. Because once the cover is blown, then they have to be bad guys again. But I do like that Meowth was like, you can't, you're getting sidetracked. We have to make money. And they're saying, no, they're really into it. And I think they're pretty upset at him for kind of taking them away from what could be, as you were saying, their true path in life.
I know. They really do. They really are so enthusiastic about this. I think to the point where, so when Ash and Brock come in and they discover Team Rocket and they go, "Let's have a battle." And James is saying, "Oh, we have a special fashion battle platform for this." And so they press a button and the whole shop transforms into this big battle stage arena. And they're in these outfits. That is amazing. And Jessie is like in this suit, like
with a
fencing
saber
outfit. Yeah. And James is in this giant ball gown with a yellow wig.
Much like Ash's wig from the last episode when he was Ashley.
Right.
So
except now all grown up and bad.
Exactly.
But I love so they're in this thing and they do, their whole motto is changed to be aligned with fashion. I wrote it down. They say, "To protect the world from boring fashion, to dress all people with flash and passion, to give all Pokemon pretty faces, to extend our art to outer spaces. When it comes to chic, we know what's right. Surrender your taste or prepare to fight."
Hilarious.
It is so funny. I just love it. And then they're battling,
amazing.
And James is like throwing rose petals as he's commanding Coughing to do something. I just love this. I love them in their fashion era. I think it's great.
I do too. And it's the whole episode in that sense. There's some of those scenes where the head gets really big of Brock or Misty and it takes up half the screen. And then you've got all this design, and when they're painting the shell of Squirtle, all of these different art forms. And then even this whole battle stage, it's got a great the the trim on the outside of it. It's great decoration, and the characters are bigger than life in this too. It's just, I don't know, it's really great. Brock says a cute exterior hides inner strength when he's talking about Vulpix winning, and it's just all this stuff where we really keep going back to what's inside and what you do with it, what you do with who you are.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too, because Susie's philosophy is that every Pokemon is beautiful. You just have to help them discover it. You have to bring it out. And Team Rocket is like, Pokemon are like models. They just have to be pretty, Right. And, whatever. But I think it's an interesting thing because we see even the battle, Ekans and Coughing are kind of winning in the battle, but because of their dresses that they're wearing, they kind of get tripped up.
That's right, because they're all dressed up.
Yeah, because they're all dressed up, and so, but only until Vulpix steps in and then does the whole flame thing and whatever, that then they are defeated. But it's an interesting, I think, what they end up saying is if you only work on outer beauty, your inner strength will be lost. And I think that that's the thing is there's no problem in wanting your outside to reflect how you feel on the inside. But you do have to work on, like you were saying, putting your knowledge in, feeding your brain, feeding your body with good food and good thoughts and all that kind of stuff, because that is really that's who you are.
That's right.
And at the end of the day, who you are is what makes you beautiful.
That's right. And also, it's what you do with that changes the world and makes it a better place. It's not just about you standing there looking great. It's how you use all of your skills to improve the lives of those around you. Mm-hmm. So sometimes you can have a nice outfit on, but it's what you're still doing in that outfit that matters.
Exactly.
Not just standing there.
Right.
I think, too, there's a lot talking about fast fashion, and which is just all of these stores that are selling clothes that are cheaply made, that won't last very long, that you're trying to just ride the wave of what's in style.
Right.
And you often don't think about what goes into that. Where are they making those clothes? Who is, in those sweatshops where they're making a lot of this to the detriment of those who are working, and then those clothes don't last long, and then where do they all end up? Yeah. We've all seen pictures of just piles of clothes and trash that have washed up places. And I don't know, this is a tiny thing to say. Isn't it better to look at the clothes that you have and try to revamp them and maybe turn them into something unique?
Yeah.
Instead of throwing it out or just buying new stuff all the time.
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes to the thing of finding your own style, and not, being tossed around by what everybody else is doing and the latest popular thing. There is definitely more merit in finding your own personal style. And again, it doesn't mean that you can never buy a new t-shirt again, but it's figuring out kind of who you are and what you like to wear.
Right.
And not letting your style be dictated by what other people say is popular in that moment. And I think it's always tough because sometimes you do want that hot pink Barbie dress because it's so fun and it's such a fun thing for the moment. But I do think that with a lot of things, if you have your values, if you know who you are, then it's a little easier to kind of discern, well, do I really want this or do I just want it because XYZ? Or
yeah, exactly.
I think it falls in for all of those things. And even with Pokemon and Pokemon trainers, you have to listen to your Pokemon. You have to work with your Pokemon to see what the best thing is for you both. Rather than just, going and finding whatever's the most popular hair clip or makeup to put on. You have to, you have to have that communication with in this case, with your Pokemon, and then also for us with yourself, I think.
Right.
Is
and
very
I think
important.
that focus helps you when you're trolling through thrift stores or flea markets. You already can kind of see what it is that you like and what you can get there, the treasures you can find. But if you don't know yourself, you're just kind of wading through just endless amounts of stuff.
Yeah.
But with a focused eye, you can find some incredible treasures
Oh, yeah.
that are quite unique.
Definitely. I just found these really cool sunglasses with stars on the corner.
Oh, wow.
I was in a thrift store the other day and I saw them and they were very cool. But, it's certain things like that you can, if you know what you like and what you're looking for, you're right. Things pop out in a different way.
Yes, very true. I found this ring in London, actually, at a Covent Garden market that they have on Mondays of, antiques, or just not antique makes you think it's really great, but just old stuff. And it's a dearest ring. And each stone goes with a D for the diamond, E for emerald. And anyway, it's pretty cool it's for someone who is your dearest. And then when I was looking into it, there are other dearest rings where the stones were arranged. They were like a secret message that someone would give to their beloved. And if I hadn't found that at this flea market, I would never have known that these existed.
Yeah.
So again, you can learn about the past and kind of incorporate things into your own style by finding things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, and then looking it up.
Yeah.
We always have to look things up. That's what you do. Dexter is always telling Ash what the Pokemon is and what it does, and that's what we're all doing. We have with our phones, we can look up everything every second of the day. So we're fonts of information.
Mm-hmm.
And we should use that information.
You have to stay curious.
Stay curious.
And
That's
speaking of that, we find at the end of this episode, Susie has decided, thank you for reminding me of my path and my passion and all this kind of stuff. So she herself is going on the road to, deepen her knowledge and her understanding. And she gives Vulpix to Brock.
Yes, amazing.
Which is kind of crazy. And I think what's interesting, too, she goes to Brock and she says, we're rivals now, whatever, which I didn't really know that breeders consider themselves rivals.
Well, they still do gym battles. So
breeders?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't think that would be, it just surprised me.
I did. I was surprised, too, but I liked that then that was the opportunity to shake hands, which really
totally
threw Brock off.
Yeah, and he was like, I also love that, he's kind of, I think he's in love with Susie more because he really respects her. And so he's just really in awe of her. But I love the height difference. When
he's so small.
Yeah, when she's standing across from him, she is so much bigger than he is. Mm-hmm. But then when he's standing with, I feel like Nurse Joy and Officer Jenny, I always think of them as being a lot older, but I don't think that they're that much bigger than he is, like she was, I don't know. I think pay more attention to that.
Her maturity made her taller in this situation.
Totally. But I wonder what the age gap is, because she seemed to be a lot older than Brock. But I think that was based off of height.
I don't think age matters at all to anyone.
That's true.
Here. It's a feeling.
So. Of course.
Yes.
It's definitely a feeling.
And she says, there are things I can only learn if I leave, like get back on the road. Mm-hmm. And I think that does apply to all of us, that you do have to leave your comfort zone. You do have to get out. It doesn't mean you have to move away from home, but it does mean you have to get out and talk to people and challenge yourself.
Yeah, and I think that even like reading a book that you might not necessarily pick up, or
exactly,
in that way, you don't have to necessarily travel, but you can let your mind travel and expand.
Yeah, try different food, try a different book, make new friends, all of that stuff. It increases your capacity and your capacity to be who you are, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
I did hear a great quote from Lyndon Johnson that somewhat applies to our whole Pokemon journey. And he said, when you brush up against the grindstone of life, you get more polish than at Harvard or Yale, which I take to mean in this context that it's all the hard knocks and your failures and how much you try at things. All of that helps you to become who you are more than just by studying. It's not that you don't need to study or you don't need to go to school, but being out there and trying and failing and achieving, all of that brushing up against the grindstone, it does polish you in a way that you couldn't get by just sitting at home.
Yeah. And I think the thing is, being in school, it helps you learn how to learn. And
That's it.
You learn how to kind of think critically, and you are exposed to things. You gain knowledge from books, and you have that, in that sense, those book smarts.
Yes.
But once you get out into the world and you apply that, then that's how you kind of figure out, okay, well, how do I think? How do I fit into this? And how can I use what I know in this situation, and learning new things and meeting new people? You are pulling from that bag of tricks, your toolbox, but
Yes.
the way you apply it and in real life, that personal experience, you can only grow from having conversations with people on the street and, interacting with real life things.
That's right.
But I think having a deeper knowledge only helps.
Mm-hmm. It's all working on maybe building up that toolbox inside so that you can build on the outside.
Right, exactly.
Well, I guess this is probably a good time for the Poke Wrap Up,
where we hear from you, the Pokemon community.
We asked you to send in your favorite Pokemon memories, stories, and inspirations.
And here is this week's.
We have something from Kimberly in Houston, and she writes, I actually just met you at Collecticon. I've been a fan nearly my entire life. My parents bought me Pokemon Yellow for my Game Boy Color when I was 5, and I have played every single game that's been released since then. Now that I'm a parent, I've introduced my love of Pokemon to my son. We've begun watching the Indigo League and a few of the earlier movies. When I was his age, I would come home from school and watch Pokemon every day. There's something so special about being able to give that same experience to my son. It feels like everything is coming full circle. Thank you so much, Kimberly. And we want to hear from all of you.
Email us a short recording or write to us at trainersguidepod@gmail.com.
And try to keep it short. We just hate to edit.
Oh, and please include your first name and where you're from.
Well, that about wraps up today's episode of The Trainer's Guide. And, as they say, to be continued. We hope that you continue to join us on this journey that is The Trainer's Guide.
As you know, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Wherever you're listening now.
And if you subscribe, comment, and rate the podcast, it helps others find the show and keeps us on the air.
Thank you so much in advance for your generosity and all of your amazing support.
Trainer's Guide is a production of Boom Integrated.
We are co-executive producing this along with
the amazing Adrienne Glover
and the incomparable Robin Lai. I'm your host, Veronica Taylor.
And I'm your host, Rena Taylor.
And this has been The Trainer's Guide. We'll see you out there on the road.